Dynasty Warriors 9 is the latest game in a sweeping subgenre of 3D brawlers where you play as historical figures from 2nd and 3rd century AD China during the fall of the Han Dynasty and the ensuing Civil War. It's been 5 years since the last core installment, making this the first game built from start to finish with current general consoles in mind. It was a rare opportunity for the series to do something truly different. Open-world games aren't as rare as they used to be, but for a conservative subgenre like the one Dynasty Warriors belongs to, it seemed like a radical new direction. Dynasty Warriors 9 S open world is the big game changer here, and it works to the game's advantage in many ways. This time, missions are picked up from non-player characters out in the world, and among the different cities that dot the landscape. Although the old menu-based quest option is still there if you want to merely move from mission to mission, traveling from one area to another gives you chances to find peaceful moments between each battle. Your actions in the open world are also tied closely to each main quest. Completing sub-quests lowers the recommended character level for the main quest, so if you find a mission too difficult, you can polish off a few sub-quests to make it easier. Ditto for taking down squadrons on the open-world battlefield, which changes the front lines and gives your clan the numerical advantage for next main mission. And while it's satisfying to watch this play out, it only felt essential when playing on the highest of the game's 5 difficulty levels, as combat generally feels weighted in your favor. The world is massive, and in its own way quite pretty. Its sparsity reflects the period, and the vast and varied environments flow seamlessly into one another. It's serene in the way that a horseback ride through nature should be. The day/night and full weather cycles aren't just visual changes, but also affect the action. Soldiers won't march at nighttime, and bad weather slows them down. But overall, it also just looks plain grimy at times. Many of the game's textures appear as though they've been lathered in thick coats of Vaseline. Cities and palaces suffer from this the most, as their elaborate architecture often fails to load with high-resolution textures at first, leaving them looking like big brown lumps in the world instead of beautiful, ancient Chinese palaces. At worst, full bases will phase into view a few moments after being loaded into the world, but thankfully this is reasonably rare. Aside from the randomly appearing geometry, Dynasty Warriors 9 S graphical shortcomings are perhaps most noticeable in the character costumes. While character models and costume designs themselves are absolutely stunning, the textures within them lack the sort of clarity needed to work up close. This, combined with rough animations and some truly abysmal English voice work, make sure you switch to the Chinese voiceover immediately. Make the story cutscenes a little rough to look at, given the frequency with which they're shown. If Dynasty Warriors is known for anything, it's throwing huge numbers of enemies at you to cut through like a hot knife through butter, and Dynasty Warriors 9 is no different. Given the game's technical issues, it's a good thing that cutting down hundreds of enemies in a single sitting feels as satisfying as ever. Entire squadrons can be laid to waste in mere moments. It's truly an epic power fantasy that, even after 50 hours of gameplay, continues to thrill. The soundtrack shifts from a softer, more traditional sound to crunching drums and wailing guitars, giving it a pure action game feel. Admittedly, the horseback combat doesn't feel all that great, mostly thanks to the horse lacking any subtlety in its movements, and using the bow can be underwhelming. But the melee combat remains the biggest draw, and the series' strongest pillar. It lacks nuance in some of the later one-on-one boss battles, but 9 times out of 10, you'll come out of a battle with a smile on your face. Despite the obvious graphical flaws and some issues with combat lacking finer controls, the streamlined menus, open-world atmosphere, and laughably fun moment-to-moment play makes Dynasty Warriors 9 not just a must for fans, but worth a look for the merely curious. I give Dynasty Warriors a 7 out of 10. Let me know what you think of the game down in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.